LinkedIn reconnect करने की कोशिश हो तो हुआ नहीं.
All right, we are not yet live, so let's for a minute. Yes, we are live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube of my profile, so as yours profile also. So welcome all to the season 1, episode 3 of D2Cgupshup, wherein today we are going to talk about the art of storytelling. And for that, I have Sonia Khurana with me, जिसको कहानियों से बहुत प्यार है और उसी का व्यापार है इस मैडम का. तो ये कहाँ से टैगलाइन तुमने चुराई कहाँ से? तुमने पहले तो ये बताओ.
नहीं हम चुराते नहीं है. हम चुराते नहीं है, हम क्रिएट ही कर लेते हैं ना. क्रिएटर होने का फायदा क्या, मतलब अगर हम क्रिएट ही नहीं कर पाए, अपने लिए टैगलाइन नहीं क्रिएट कर पाए तो फिर व्हाट इज द यूज? दो देयर इज अ सेइंग कि गुड आर्टिस्ट्स क्रिएट, ग्रेट आर्टिस्ट स्टील, पर हमने ये चुराया नहीं, हमने बनाया है. ये हमारी अपनी आइडेंटिटी.
इंस्पायर होता है.
क्या?
आर्टिस्ट हमेशा इंस्पायर होता है और वो इंस्पिरेशन लेके फिर बना लेता है जो कुछ बनाना है.
हाँ, दैट्स आल्सो.
तो ये इंस्पिरेशन ना आज का एक हमारे को ये मेन गपशप आज ये करना चाहता हूं मैं. ठीक है, स्टोरी है. सो ओके, इन अ स्टोरी इटसेल्फ आई टेक टू पार्ट्स. एक तो स्टोरी, लॉट ऑफ ब्रांड्स स्ट्रगल इन स्टोरी. सेकंड, द आर्ट ऑफ टेलिंग दैट स्टोरी. इट इंक्लूड्स some scientific ways, some technical ways, and more than that, the art in itself. So आज मेजर तो हम इस पे बात करेंगे, but before I start, I want to like lay down the foundation of this entire idea which came in today for today's episode actually. The last two episodes we have been talking about the challenges for the D2C brands to go. Then the personal branding was one of the major topics which we had last week with Vanshika and Saurabh Goel. And within that, when people are trying to build a story, personal branding, the point came कि वो story क्या बताएं. कि चलो ब्रांडिंग बनाना शुरू कर दी, कंटेंट डालना शुरू कर दिया, लोगों से बात करना शुरू कर दिया, बट इन दिस होल exercise of building a personal brand and becoming a face of the brand in itself, story क्या चाहिए? People fail in building a impactful story. पहली चीज. दूसरा, कम्युनिकेशन नहीं हो पाती, वो बता ही नहीं पाते, वो आर्ट कहीं ना कहीं मिसिंग है. And I'm sure you fill that gap for a lot of brands. You have been doing this gap filling activity, a job or whatever you call it. Okay, it's a great thing which you have been doing with the brands. Definitely वो share करना आप इसके बारे में. तो इसको अगर हम शुरू करें तो इनफैक्ट मैं जब इस पूरे एपिसोड की प्लानिंग कर रहा था, मुझे सिर्फ एक चीज ध्यान आई थी, द स्टोरी ऑफ अ मैगी. 2 मिनट मैगी बचपन से सुनते आ रहे हैं, आज तक वो माइंड में है. मैगी को कोई रिप्लेस नहीं कर पाया हमारे माइंड से. किसी रिप्लेस नहीं किया, इसी वजह से वो हमारे किचन से रिप्लेस नहीं हुआ, हमारे मेन्यू से रिप्लेस नहीं. आई एम नॉट श्योर कि इससे बढ़िया कोई प्रोडक्ट है या इससे बढ़िया प्रोडक्ट आ भी सकता है नहीं आ सकता, आई डोंट नो, बट आई थिंक द स्टोरी बहुत अच्छी है. The art and the science, the timing and everything is perfect for Maggie. बीच में कुछ साल पहले बहुत प्रॉब्लम हुई थी मैगी के साथ. They bounced back with a story in itself. So now you tell me, with your experience in with Wine Studio, and I'm sure this Wine Studio happened recently, but since I know you for long, the stories we have heard a lot of stories. बहुत अच्छी हमने बातें ब्रांड्स को लेके करी हैं. Share your experience about when you really talk to the brands, उनकी स्टोरी में क्या प्रॉब्लम लगती है और how they should improve. Good.
So interesting, Nishant. The fact that you mentioned Maggie wala example is something that I would start by. But सबसे पहले thank you for having me here, and I'm glad that you had Vanshika and Saurabh in the last episode. I love both of them and the work that both of them do in space of branding, communication, and Saurabh in the space of building communities. I think I admire both of them a lot. So you've just got the right people. And thank you for having me today. I'll come to my story later. पर मैगी की बात करी ना, तो मुझे something that I want to start off by is a question. And the question is to you, the question is to everybody who's a part of the audience right now, wherever you're watching this, कि नूडल्स सोचते हैं, इंस्टेंट नूडल्स सोचते हैं, मैगी याद आता है। तो लेट मी आस्क यू, जब मैं कार बोलती हूँ, गाड़ी बोलती हूँ, व्हिच ब्रांड डू यू थिंक ऑफ?
Well, I think of Audi, BMW, these two brands.
Okay. When I say consumer brands, let me ask you, if I say tea, what do you think of? Which brand do you think? First, फटाफट, rapid fire है, सोचना नहीं है.
Tata,
Tata tea. If I say coffee, what is the first brand you think of?
Nescafe,
If I say toothpaste, what do you think of?
मेरी टूथपेस्ट अलग है, मैं यूज करता हूँ सेंसोडेंट की।
नहीं,
Yes.
मैं यूज करने वाली बात नहीं कर रही हूँ, दिमाग में
नहीं,
कौन
मेरे
सा
माइंड
आता
में
है,
वही चलता है, बट हाँ, अगर मैं कंज्यूमर पर्सपेक्टिव से बोलूं तो आई थिंक इट्स कोलगेट फॉर मी।
है ना?
हाँ,
तो सबके लिए ऑफ कोर्स ये अलग अलग है, बट मेजोरिटी के लिए शायद से कोलगेट रहेगा, राइट?
राइट,
मेजोरिटी के लिए टी वुड बी टाटा, चाहे घर पे कोई और कंज्यूम हो रही होगी,
एग्री, एग्री।
घर पे शायद से वाघ बकरी कंज्यूम हो रही होगी।
हम्म,
कॉफी बोले तो घर पे, मेरे घर पे ब्रू टोकाई यूज होती है, बट
मैं
नाम
तो
कौन सा आता
मैं
है
तो स्टारबक्स पी रहा हूँ, मेरे को दिमाग में वही आया, नेस्कैफे।
है ना?
राइट,
सो
एब्सोल्युटली राइट।
व्हाई इज दिस द केस? व्हेन यू थिंक ऑफ, एंड हम राइट फ्रॉम द टाइम वी open our eyes every morning to the time we sleep, during the entire day, we don't even know how, we can't even count on our hands the amount of brands that we interact with in reality. जबकि जब हम सोचने जाएंगे तो शायद से कुछ ही याद आएंगे, पर if you consciously start thinking of the time when you wake up, the first thing that you wake up, what happens? Your alarm rings, है ना? अलार्म घड़ी होगी कोई, या तो मोबाइल पे होगा, या कोई ट्रिंग ट्रिंग घड़ी होगी जिसमें अलार्म बजता है पुराने जमाने वाला, द क्लॉक, द प्रॉपर क्लॉक, या व्हाटएवर, डिजिटल होगी, एनालॉग होगी, कोई तो होगी, और even a lot of people buy their furniture from brands like Durian to so many others. So the furniture to during the day, the amount of times you might be signing things as an entrepreneur, the pen that you use, every पूरे दिन में आपका हजारों ब्रांड्स के साथ इंटरेक्शन होता है, पर क्या
वेल,
हजारों ब्रांड्स आपको याद रहते हैं?
ना,
नहीं। क्यों?
आई थिंक कनेक्शन नहीं होता उनके साथ, मे बी। I think for me the brand recall is through connection, some story, some
करेक्ट,
emotional connect. I think,
करेक्ट,
yeah.
करेक्ट। And that essentially is the reason why storytelling is important.
I want to share about this connection we just spoke about. Maggie का connection मेरे साथ क्या है? Childhood days में Sunday morning a breakfast Maggie. I remember that.
Yeah.
Four of us family members, mom, dad, me and my elder sister, हम चारों बैठे, मैगी बन रही है, and we are waiting कि मैगी बन के आएगी, हम संडे का ब्रेकफास्ट मैगी करेंगे. That's a connection we have. That's a childhood memories we have. Yeah.
Correct. Correct.
Hmm.
So, this essentially is the reason that, especially now, think about the D2C brands. This conversation is focused around D2C brands. And in the last 2 years, 2 साल छोड़ दो, last 6 months to 1 year की trajectory में अगर आप duration में देखोगे, the amount of growth in the number of D2C brands in the country is insane.
Yeah, I agree.
So how do you stand out from the noise? And every category, ऐसा भी नहीं है कि कोई category अभी explore होनी रहती है. पेट फूड की बात कर लो, आप कॉफी की बात कर लो, चाय की बात कर लो, आप फूड की बात कर लो, आप ब्यूटी एंड वेलनेस ब्रांड्स की बात कर लो, यू टॉक अबाउट द सप्लीमेंट्स, द न्यूट्रोसेटिकल्स, टॉक अबाउट दोस. Every brand is so, like, every category is so filled up with so many brands. Everybody.
Sonia, I think we are losing you. We can't hear you. I think there's some problem. Can you say something now? No. There's no voice. Can just log off and log in once. Guys, we are sorry. There's some technical glitch, I believe, at Sonia's end. Let her rejoin the live streaming. Maybe another minute. She'll be back. And then we'll continue on the very interesting topic which we are having right now. And I'm sure this is going to be the one of the best interactive session we are having till now on the Gupshup series. So let's wait for another minute. In the meantime, I request if you have any questions around this, if you think any question I or Sonia can answer, just type in here and we'll definitely address these questions in the end. We do have a few questions. Yes, Sonia is back. I'm adding her to the screen. Yeah, can you say something, Sonia?
Yeah. Am I audible and am I visible, clear, and
All perfect.
perfect?
Yes. So you
वो
were.
ना मतलब सेशन से पहले जस्ट भाग के फ्रेश होके बैठी हूँ और आवाज चली जाए व्यू चला जाए तो what is the point of this conversation? So
Yeah, it's okay.
yeah, I was saying this very fact that I don't know any D2C brand which is not shelling money on performance. कोई भी कैटेगरी ऐसी कोई कैटेगरी है नहीं जो अभी athleisure, nutraceutical, food, wellness, beauty, the coffee, tea. Think about it, and everybody is spending money on performance. But performance के साथ पता है सबसे बड़ा problem क्या है? What do you do? Let me ask so there's something called as pattern blindness. Now वो क्या होती है? I'll tell you. You will tell me actually. So when you are scrolling on Instagram या किसी भी app, platform पे, Facebook पे, Instagram पे, wherever you are, ad coming to you. Without even knowing it is an ad, what is the first thing that you do? You scroll away. Like नहीं देखते. And देखते पता चल जाता है कि वो ad है. So we have all identified, first glimpse of it, and without watching it for 3 seconds, without even watching that ad for 3 seconds, we scroll because we've identified, humans are tuned to identify patterns. We have identified there's a pattern. This is how an ad looks like from a brand, and I don't want to consume it. So when you consumer who you're wanting to go to, who you're wanting should make the purchase, आप उसी के लिए customer को acquire करने के लिए you are putting that 1 penny into that. So there's a customer acquisition cost that you're incurring, and the customer is not even bothering to look at it because customer has identified a pattern, that there's a pattern, and I don't want to watch. So the customers, think about yourself. I think about myself. That's what we all do. The moment there's an ad on YouTube, I'm like, I want to skip. The moment there's an ad on Instagram, I want to skip. And the fact that what starts happening with performance is that when I am watching a ad or when I'm going onto a product of a particular category, every brand that is in that category starts targeting me.
Yeah, that happens.
And it annoys me as a consumer.
Yeah.
So instead of the consumer buying into your product, the consumer is repelled. The consumer
agree.
won't spend into your brand. तो आप performance में डाल के क्या कर रहे हो? आप basically you are repelling the customer away.
Guys who are focusing on just the performance marketing, इसको ध्यान से सुनो, please. Yes, I think it's a very good learning for me also.
So if you're not telling the story, if you're not telling a story that relates to me as a consumer, that either targets my survival or it targets my thrival. So either your brand story has to make me realize that it will help me survive something, or it has to make me realize that it can help me, that this brand or whatever this brand is selling can help me thrive if it is not targeting either of these two emotions or either of these two possibilities, then whatever money you will spend on performance is not going to help you. It's only going to repel your customer away, potential customer away.
Right. So you're burning money and still losing customer as well, who could be a target, real customer as well. Just you need to change your narrative and the story and connect with the customer. So how we achieve
Absolutely.
it? So how we achieve it? Because every D2C brand which I come across, I'm sure you also come across, and in few of the cases we both have come across the same kind of D2C brands asking us, "कैसे growth चाहिए? हमें growth नहीं आ रही है." ठीक है, I won't take the name. I can assure that you must have recalled which brand I'm talking about. So what's your guidance on how they approach on creating a story first? Because there's a gentleman, Sanjay Baka, has asked a question. I think we can take their example. He mentioned what sort of storytelling you says for jewelry retailer, and is karigari a story or is it a design? Handmade versus machine made story, which one should be opted? I think मैं ज्वेलरी में हूँ,
None
मैं
of it.
right. I was about to say this. So why don't we take this real life example and just share how a story to be built around it?
So I will not answer the question. I'll ask you questions that will help you answer the question, Sanjay. ठीक है?
Okay, please.
And I'll tell you, before I share these questions and help you go on that journey of reflecting कि यार क्या story हो सकती है, उससे पहले ना, let me tell you this one thing
हाँ.
कि we all know Apple as a brand. We all know Steve Jobs to be the maverick that he was. So Steve Jobs, before Apple became Apple, before Steve Jobs became the Steve Jobs who made Apple a great success, he had also failed at building Apple, right?
Yes.
And when he failed at it, why did he fail at it? Think about it. He was not the creator of the of Apple as what we know. Steve
Yeah.
Wozniak was. And interestingly, Steve Jobs was a great, salesperson, great marketer. He was a brilliant brain. But the first time he made an attempt at creating the Apple story, I remember reading this thing that Apple का एक particular, I think, Lisa था या कौन सा, there was this particular model of their Apple, the systems that they had created, जिसके लिए उन्होंने features को define करने के लिए and how great it is, they created a 9-pager ad defining the features, the benefits, and how it is the supercomputer that it is in the New York Times. And they could not sell even one.
Okay.
And after failing to build it, he joined Pixar. Pixar is the movie maker, the production house. They've done fabulous movies. And when he was in Pixar, that's where Steve Jobs learned storytelling. That's where he learned the importance of narratives. And after that, when he came back to Apple and they launched afresh, they launched their new campaign with just 2 words on the front page of the newspaper.
I think that's think different.
Just 2
Interesting.
words. And from there on, they have not had to look back.
Correct. It changed the entire the narrative, the value proposition. I think it really transformed the company. What we see today, Apple as. Yes.
Absolutely. Now think about it. Why did think so, Sanjay? To answer your question with some questions. So think different से हुआ क्या? Who did they identify is the hero for their brand? तो अगर आपका jewelry brand है which is handcrafted, let me ask you, आपके लिए hero कौन है? आपके लिए hero कारीगर है कि आपका customer है?
Okay.
Customer है. आपका customer कौन है? When Apple identified its customers, it identified they're not the people who want just features. They want sleek looking, interesting looking products which they can flaunt. They want, they started identifying the right consumer persona कि यार मेरे लिए hero ये है, उसको stand out कर. My hero wants to stand out. My
Right.
hero does not want to be a part of the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
So for you, who is your hero? It is the women. It is the women who buy your jewelry. Now, what do these women want? What does the hero want? Or your heroine in this case, what does the heroine want?
Mm-hmm.
She wants dignity, she wants to be respected, she wants to look beautiful, she wants a certain sense of confidence.
Right.
So is
Well,
your brand portraying any of this feeling that your hero or heroine really wants? Is it communicating that in any form?
right.
So, if you think about it, why is it that so many brands in the recent times have
Mm.
stopped? And Sanjay, this is particularly for you. I've not seen your brand.
Well,
Actually, I
shall I
think
share some information about his brand?
my uh,
Yeah.
but then that might end up taking time. But I'll just, this might be something that everybody can think about.
Online I'll add, probably it's good for the audience to understand the
Sure,
entire thing.
sure, sure.
Sanjay is the CFO of Sanco Gold Diamond Jewelry. It's, as per Sanjay messaged me, second largest trusted brand in India. And I'm on their website as well as on Instagram page. Sorry, Sanjay, I'm not able to connect. Right? The stories are not mostly viewed. You're just displaying the product. I can see in your reels. It's the product which you're talking about. It's the offers which you're talking about, which I can see in a single glance. I'm not able to connect, to be honest, so far. Yes. Sonia, probably go ahead with the points.
So I am also, it's SENCO.
SENCO, right?
Okay. So,
So it's a good thing. Go ahead.
Hanji, while yeah. So what has happened, Sanjay, is कि आपका Instagram page देख रही हूँ मैं. आपका
Hmm.
Instagram page is like a product catalog sheet.
Exactly. So it's not about
ठीक
the
है.
audience, it's about themselves.
And also please understand कि at the end of the day, we are humans. आपकी audience जो है human है.
Hmm.
आपकी audience human है जिसका एक दिल है, heart है. So humans connect to humans, heart connects to hearts. People do not connect to products. People do not follow products. People follow people.
Hmm.
So if I do not see the face, if I do not see, and I'm sure मैं और नीचे जब scroll कर रही हूँ मैं कुछ reels देख रही हूँ जहाँ पे there are interesting faces to the brand and I see
Yes.
that those reels have done well. I see the one woman army वाला जो आपका reel है that has performed well and
Hmm.
there's a reason for it. There's a reason to it. One, that women who's on the cover image of that reel. I've not seen the reel because I'm in this live, but the cover image of that reel, the women who's there, she's a woman that I relate to. बहुत regular
Yes.
face है, she's not a model. So a lot of, if you think about it, a lot of brands, because your audience is women, so I'm specifically speaking to your brand right now. And in this, anybody who's consuming this content right now, wherever you're seeing this, wherever you're watching this conversation, you can think about your hero, your heroine. So what do they want? They want to be able to relate. They want कि यार मेरे को भी एक validation मिले कि हाँ मैं भी exist करता हूँ. Not only jewelry does not look good only on models and people that we see on Instagram as influencers. It can look good on me as a regular woman.
Yeah.
So can you create it? Can you create Instagram reels and content storytelling and brand storytelling around who your audience is? Why is it that so many brands right now get models of even different sizes to different kind of skin colors? It is to become more inclusive, to actually talk to their audience, to their heroines. So it's about understanding who is my hero and heroine, what is it that they want.
Well, I think I have glanced through the entire reels of the page. the point which you mentioned, wherever the connection is happening with the real me or near me, the views are high. Wherever the catalog is being presented, it's dead. So I think
Absolutely.
it's a very strong insight of a story is required for any brand, despite your second or first or any ranked trusted brand. I think a story is what makes you a brand. In this, when you talk about the gold or real diamond jewelry, it's only Tanish which comes to my mind, right?
True,
And now they
because
have
and think about the kind of ad campaigns that Tanishq has done, Nishant.
beautiful,
I look forward to their ad campaigns for the storytelling, for the beautiful, heart-touching storytelling that they do every time and each time.
right? So brands, D2C brands specifically, who are actually live and watching us, or who would watch us on YouTube later on. Product is secondary. First, build a connection. Now, Sonia, I request you to focus a bit on how one can create a quick story out of the brands. Just you mentioned about uh, understand the audience. So, can you give a
Yeah.
2-3 point checklist for any brand to follow them and start building a story? And then I want you to spend 2 minutes on the the story is one part we spoke about. The art of telling the story, the distribution part, the spreading part, the word about and all. Please, उस पे थोड़ा सा नजर डालते
So,
हैं.
now that you know, first two things that we identified was कि आप पहले तो identify करो हीरो और आपकी हीरोइन है कौन exactly, who is
Yeah.
your customer.
Hmm.
उसका भी एक अच्छा खासा प्रोसेस होता है. It is not easy,
Hmm.
but it has to be done. Sometimes we know it, sometimes we don't know it, and we try to figure out. But the sooner we know it, better it is for us.
Hmm.
The next step is to know what do they really want.
Yeah.
Now, in that process of, the next question that you asked, Nishant, कि यार story identify कैसे करें? What is the story that I want to tell?
Hmm.
तो ये सोचो, I'm going to again go back, not go back, but I'm going to, since I talked about Pixar in the beginning, तो Pixar is the movie making studio. तो
Hmm.
movies में क्या होता है? Just the way brand storytelling and movie making is a very similar process.
Okay.
Um, मूवीज की बात करें तो मूवीज कोई भी मूवी सोच लो, कोई भी मूवी, थिंक अबाउट एनी मूवी दैट यू कैन इन योर हेड, बट एवरी मूवी हैज अ हीरो और अ हीरोइन.
Hmm.
Every hero or heroine wants something, but in
Hmm.
order to want that thing, वो आसानी से तो मिल नहीं जाती.
Yeah.
उस उस प्रोसेस में देयर आर हजारों challenges that come through.
Hmm.
Now, as a brand, can you identify those challenges? Because your story has to revolve around those challenges.
Hmm.
For it to relate to my survival or thrival, your brand has to understand what is my challenge.
As a customer,
अभी
the customer का challenge समझना है ना.
हाँ,
हाँ.
एब्सोल्युटली. मैं हीरो या हीरोइन हूँ ना आपकी स्टोरी की.
Right.
अगर आपका ज्वेलरी ब्रांड है, मैं आपकी हीरोइन हूँ ना, मैं आपकी हीरोइन हूँ क्योंकि आप यू वांट मी टू बाय प्रोडक्ट्स फ्रॉम यू, यू वांट मी टू
Right.
बाय योर डायमंड एंड गोल्ड. So
Hmm.
essentially, I am the king, I am the queen, I am the hero, I am the heroine.
Correct.
But what is the problem that I'm facing? क्योंकि आपकी कहानी has to revolve around my problem. The
Beautiful.
beginning of the story is where you identify my challenges. If you identify that, most Indian women do not have a fair complexion. Again, I'm just saying this out, so
Hmm.
don't take my word, but I'm just making a story here that most Indian women, let's say, do not have a fair complexion. Are not most women are not the size and shape that is portrayed by models and influencers. The regular Indian sizes and of all shapes and forms. So, and everybody wants to look good. Everybody wants to feel good.
Agree.
But I don't feel confidence. I try to hide my scars. I try to do all kinds of makeup. I try to use all kind of adornments uh, that can make me feel good and not acknowledge the beauty that I am as it is.
Hmm.
So, can you address that challenge? Can you address the challenges in your story by
Hmm.
starting by अंडरस्टैंडिंग कि यार मेरे हीरो या हीरोइन के प्रॉब्लम्स क्या हैं सबसे पहले दैट आई एम सॉल्विंग फॉर, एंड दैट्स द स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट.
Great.
Now, the second thing in this step is कि if the challenge is overcome,
Hmm.
then how will it make me feel?
Yeah.
It has to identify, your brand has to identify the emotion that I will feel once your brand has solved that challenge.
Hmm.
At the same time, you have to also identify कि अगर आप मेरा ये challenge solve नहीं कर पाए, then what is the tragedy that will occur in my life if you're not able to make me win?
That's an interesting side.
So
But
think about it
generally,
this way.
but generally on a positive front, people think of solving the problem and how you are going to feel after problem is being solved. But the point which you're saying, how it affects the entire story. If we
I'm
feel,
telling you, I'm coming there. So when you know that if as a so like I said, the question is about surviving and thriving both, है ना? So either your brand has to identify कि यार I can ensure that Sonia by wearing all those beautiful jewelry that Senko Diamond and Gold has, if she wears that kind of beautiful necklace on one of her occasions, she will feel out of the world.
hmm,
But if she does not wear it, if she does not wear something that makes her feel super confident, makes her feel out of the world, makes her feel like a queen, then what will happen? Then what's the tragedy? It will come down to her self confidence. It might come down to her not wanting to go out on occasions when other women come and look beautiful, but she's not able to portray herself
hmm,
confidently. So, what's the tragedy that will occur? So, that helps me create a story arc from identifying before and after.
hmm, got it.
कि एज अ ब्रांड अगर मैं इस हीरो या हीरोइन की लाइफ में नहीं आया या आई तो the person is not likely to win, and if the person is not likely to win, then the tragedy that can happen. But if I can come in this person's life, in my hero heroine's life, and escalate their journey to what they want, then this is going to happen. So when I know that entire arc, I
Hmm,
create a narrative around that.
beautiful. I think it's a if we get an answer to all these 4 points, the story in itself start developing and it becomes a beautiful thing. I think ये चार ही तो क्वेश्चंस हैं. अपने हीरो हीरोइन को पहचानो, उनकी प्रॉब्लम को चैलेंजेस को पकड़ो, उनको सॉल्व कर दिया तो क्या हो गया, सॉल्व नहीं कर पाया तो क्या हो गया.
Absolutely.
परफेक्ट
And
स्ट्रक्चर फॉर अ स्टोरी.
आपका role throughout as a brand is that of a guide, that of a mentor.
ब्यूटीफुल.
Your role, once we stop thinking that I am here to sell and we switch our mindset to, I am here to ensure that my hero or heroine wins and gets what they want.
Great. Beautiful advice,
That
Sonia, for all
process.
the D2C brands. Guys, अपनी story change करो. I think ये चार. I think it's gonna be good. We call it a 4 pillar of a story building.
Absolutely.
So एक एक पिलर को पकड़ो, उस पर चढ़ जाओ, आंसर निकालो, स्टोरी अपने आप तैयार होगी, बिल्डिंग तैयार होगी. आई थिंक इट्स अ फाउंडेशन which will be laid down on these 4 pillars for any D2C brand. Wonderful.
Totally.
Now,
Totally.
स्टोरी तो बन गई. अब लोगों को कम्युनिकेट करनी आती नहीं है,
हाँ.
उस पर गाइड करो. हाउ
सो
टू टेल.
कम्युनिकेशन करने के चक्कर में ना हम बहुत सारी चीजें करने की कोशिश करते हैं एंड what we end up doing is we end up confusing people, and in that process we end up losing them. So if you confuse, you lose. So try to keep your stories simple. Don't try to create बहुत कुछ करने की कोशिश मत करो. Start with one thing. Do it consistently, let it grow, and then figure out if it is working. If it is not working, then eliminate. If it is working, double down on it. But at the same time, distribution is important. Now, distribution, of course, would mean that you might want to use influencers, you might want to create reels yourself, or you might want to commission it, you might want to use different platforms, you might want to look at collaborating with other brands also, which are
Mm-hmm.
complementary but have the same audience. So, distribution can be in various ways, and there is no dearth of finding ways to distribute, but I think nailing the story is the key. Distribution के लिए बहुत मीडियम्स हैं, मीडियम्स की कमी नहीं है. अगर आपके पास पैसे हैं तो आप ओटीटी पे भी स्पेंड कर सकते हो, राइट? You can integrate your brand into a web series, you can integrate your brand into a music album, you can integrate a brand. In fact, so many brands these days are tying up with indie artists and integrating them into various music albums that these indie artists are creating. So depending on आपका brand की audience कौन है, अगर आपकी brand की audience वो है जो इंडी आर्टिस्ट को सुनती है या देखती है उनके कंटेंट को, so then obviously that makes natural sense for you to connect with them and collaborate. If your audience is not that, but if your audience is probably the kinds that goes to theater or watches old school Bollywood, then maybe your audience is maybe on OTT, but different kind of subject, different kind of content, and series are there. So you have to identify अगेन, घूम फिर के बात वही आ जाती है निशांत कि मेरा हीरो हीरोइन कौन है, मेरा
हाँ,
हीरो हीरोइन क्या चाहता है, मेरा हीरो हीरोइन कहाँ कहाँ जाता है.
कहा जाता है.
इफ आई नो माई हीरो एंड हीरोइंस वेरी वेल, मेरे को
Hmm.
उनका पल्स पता है कि वेयर ऑल डू दे गो. आर दे ऑन इंस्टाग्राम और आर दे ऑन यूट्यूब? आर दे ऑन अ पॉडकास्ट और आर दे probably somebody who reads content on in the news or in the books, or listens to audiobooks, or watches OTT? तो करता क्या है मेरा ऑडियंस? कैफे जाता है कि मेरा ऑडियंस पब में जाता है?
Hmm.
People distribute content, and there's experiential content also. So
Yeah.
लिटरेचर फेस्टिवल्स क्या है? एक्सपीरियंशियल कंटेंट है.
Yes. Yes.
NH7 वीकेंड क्या है? बकार्डी का एक्सपीरियंशियल कंटेंट है. कोक स्टूडियो क्या है? एक्सपीरियंशियल कंटेंट है.
Yes.
सो
I
कोक
think
स्टूडियो
Coke
को कोक
is
स्टूडियो करने की जरूरत नहीं थी ना, लेकिन क्यों किया?
actually
स्टोरी
Coke.
टेलिंग है.
हाँ, but what I'm saying is Coke Studio is one of the best examples we can actually refer here. अब वो start हुआ था MTV से. It was branded as Coke Studio and people remember Coke Studio only now. Coke Studio India, Coke Studio Pakistan.
MTV was a form of distribution. Coke Studio is the IP.
Yes, I think, yeah.
ठीक है, एमटीवी वाली ऑडियंस कहीं और मूव हुई, यूट्यूब पे गई, तो उन्होंने कहा कि ठीक है, मुझे एमटीवी पे रखना ही नहीं है, मेरे को डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन वहां पे इट्स एक्सपेंसिव,
Right.
राइट? सो इट्स अबाउट
Hmm.
अगेन दे आइडेंटिफाइड वेयर इज द ऑडियंस मूविंग, वेयर आर देयर हीरो एंड हीरोइंस मूविंग,
Correct,
वेयर आर दे
correct.
गोइंग, व्हाट डू दे वांट, वेयर डू दे वांट टू हियर द consume content that Coke Studio is creating. So Coke is a cold drink brand. I mean, not only a cold drink brand. They have multiple brands, but Coke did not have to create Coke Studio, but
Hmm.
it did. That's also storytelling.
It's a storytelling,
Storytelling
right?
does not have to be only.
So Coke is
Uh,
in the mind because people who have been enjoying music, for them the Coke Studio has become a de facto standard for that kind of music, and Coke is being there rather than Pepsi Studio or Pepsi नहीं है उनके दिमाग में, वो Coke ही Coke है दिमाग में.
correct,
It's a brand
correct,
recall which is happening.
correct,
Yeah.
correct. So that's the essence of this whole thing. And um, distribution के बारे में वही है कि यार, if you know your audience, if you know your heroes, your heroines, and you take the effort to deep dive and know everything that you can about them, if
Hmm.
they are the ones that you're thinking about and not just about your product, then to create the brand story, is really easy because आपको मालूम है यार what is it that they're solving for, what is the
Absolutely.
challenge that they're facing, what is it that they really need. So the moment that you know all of that, you know what your story should be.
Beautiful. Thank you, Sonia. Thank you so much. I think this brings us to the end of this live session. We have overshoot by almost 10 minutes. आई थिंक बहुत सारे क्वेश्चंस नहीं आए हैं अभी, बट आई एम श्योर कि जो इसका वीडियो लाइव होगा यूट्यूब पे, जिन्होंने लाइव सेशन नहीं देखा है, डेफिनेटली यूट्यूब पे कल या परसों में हमारा ये एपिसोड लाइव हो जाएगा, वहां जाके देखो. एंड इफ यू हैव एनी क्वेश्चंस, डेफिनेटली यू कैन पोस्ट इट ऑन यूट्यूब वीडियो, or you can reach out to Sonia. She is available on LinkedIn. I'm available on LinkedIn. You guys can follow us and drop us a message. I'm sure डेफिनेटली सोनिया को पकड़ना बड़ा मुश्किल होता है, मुझे पता, मैंने कैसे इसको पकड़ा है इस शो के लिए. ठीक है, मैं फ्री हूँ. ठीक है, मैं कनेक्ट करा दूंगा, क्वेश्चन मेरे से पूछ लेना. ठीक है, मेरा सारा दिन काम यही है, कनेक्शन कराना. ठीक है, बाकी ब्रांड्स का जो काम है वो चलता रहता है. ठीक है, so thank you Sonia once again, and have a good evening. Thank you so much. Thanks to all the audience, and definitely next Monday एक और बढ़िया एपिसोड के साथ आएंगे. एक और नया गेस्ट आ रहा है, अनाउंस अभी नहीं करूंगा, लिंक्डइन पोस्ट डाल दूंगा मे बी बाय थर्सडे. ठीक है, बट दैट्स एपिसोड इज अगेन वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग, और काफी रिसर्च करी है मैंने उसके ऊपर स्पेसिफिकली, क्योंकि मुझे उसकी नॉलेज कम थी, मैंने उसकी नॉलेज गेन करी है टू बी एट पार विद माय गेस्ट. ठीक है, तो थैंक यू सो मच सोनिया, एंड बाय बाय. हैव अ गुड इवनिंग टू ऑल ऑफ यू. बाय बाय.